Alright, I'm finally back. It's been a while since I actually touched this game, but I do know there was a balance change. However, I'm not going to be reviewing that. Actually, instead, I'm going to be going over weapons that they should have basically buffed or nerfed. So yes, this is the second part of I'll Do It Myself, that video. Yeah, also, before we even begin, I just want to say that it's also a coincidence. These are coincidences, by the way. Definitely. Where is it? Where is this damn thing? Oh yeah, Maximum Coochie. This got buffed recently. Meanwhile, I said in that video that it sucked. The first part. It got buffed. That's a coincidence. What I call not a coincidence is basically where, yeah, this got buffed as well. What did I do? But instead of all this jibber-jabbering, let's get into the video to where it actually is supposed to be. But before I do that, I'm going to give a bit of a rundown of what I'm doing here. Basically, in this video, I'm going to be going over weapons that should be buffed. But in that video, I did say that I do nerf weapons this time. However, I'm going to be changing the formula up a little bit. Instead, I'm going to go over 6 weapons, obviously the 6, primary to heavy, that should be buffed and nerfed, along with what I feel like should be buffed and nerfed. So the thing doesn't go off the rails and I don't have to spend a long time on this. Now with that all out of the way, let us begin. So the first 6 weapons on the bottom really need a redemption. Like, they are bad. Like, horrid bad. But I'm gonna go in order of what these are, and you might ask why these are actually bad. I'll give my individual reasons of why these actually suck and how I can, turn them to be actually maybe decent. So let's go. So first up is the primary, and there's one big glaring issue. Besides it being a minigun, it has 70 bullets. Now, what might be the problem with that? It has a fire rate of 100. Like, by the time you're firing it, you already wasted like 40 bullets, and basically it goes down so fast to the point where you can't even get a kill. You're spending more time reloading than you are actually firing the gun. So how do we fix this? Well, my thing is just put it to 100 or 150 ammo. So, it can actually be useful and not be more time reloading than you are actually firing the gun. And even if people use shotguns or maybe even automatics, still, at least maybe some people will use it. Like, it has good mobility, but just the ammo is awful. And now we get to the backup, which it's just bad entirely. There's a reason why everyone only just uses the anti-champion and maybe the heavy version of the champion weapon, because the others just don't compete. So for all of the champion weapons except for the anti-champion, maybe the heavy as well, I chose the Mercenary, because it's somewhat decent, but still bad. So how do we fix the Champion Mercenary? Well, just make the fire last longer and the damage, hit. Because the original Mercenary, it's not even good at all. So why not make it better? Why not make the Champion Mercenary better by, having an extra punch to it? As for the other champion weapons, we'll just buff them. Just buff them. Don't make them overpowered, but at least make them usable. Except the sniper rifle. I have to make that very clear, not the sniper rifle, because it's already good. We don't need it to be OP. And now the melee, and I'm gonna be completely honest. This is the worst weapon in the entire game. I know there are worser than this, but like, out of all the legendaries, this is the worst. So how do we fix this weapon? Well, we don't. In fact, we actually basically remake the weapon entirely. Because it's stupid. It's very dumb, and I feel like we need to actually make it better by basically changing its stats. And I actually do know how to make this better by basically remaking the weapon, but I'm gonna have to do it in a VHS style. So let me just insert the tape, and here we go. I'm just put on the voice, and okay, we're good now. Introducing the new disconnector. Instead of it being a single shot projectile weapon, it is now a boomerang. Meaning instead of hitting the projectile and just disappearing, it goes back to the weapon and you can use it again. And best part, no ammo. This makes the weapon way more valuable and better than it actually really was. With a faster fire rate, and yeah, this might become one of the best melees in the game. Now you might be like, wait a minute, this isn't buffing the weapon, this is just renewing it entirely. That's not the premise that you said at the beginning of the video. Well, my response is that there's no buffing this weapon. No matter how many times this gets buffed, it still will suck. So I feel like giving it a new purpose will maybe redeem it in a lot of ways. And now we have the Hype Yo-Yo, which is actually a pretty recent gun if you count it in the last few years. So why is it bad? It has a really big hitbox. I'm not even lying. There are sometimes, actually you probably seen it in these games, where I shoot it, right? And it hits the wall instead of going and hitting the person. And there is also, this is the explanation of how that happens, but also there is another problem with it, and that is the fire rate. It's not good, or the firing animation is too long. And the projectile itself is kind of slow, not really that good at all. So what do we do? I guess just make the fire rate faster. They've done it with the enchanted blades before. The bleeding, make it worth it because it's not that good. And make the hitbox smaller so it doesn't break into any walls and is actually accurate. Now we have the bone sniper rifle. Out of all the snipers, this actually is the worst out of the legendary snipers. It used to be good, but it's just fallen, I guess. So basically just make it the normal 143 to 200, you know, damage, and make the bleeding again worth it. Not strong, but decent strong. And the heavy. Oh, the heavy. First off, the charging rate is abysmal. Like, you see that? Do you see how long that is? With 50 ammo? No, obviously not. 2, again, 50 ammo is not worth it. It's not good. Like, at least maybe make it 70. That would actually work better. And 3, the travel time of the projectile is, yeah, that. So, how do we fix this? Make the charge time faster, 1. Make the projectile faster, and, you know, buff the damage, because it also is not good as well. Again, this is one of the old ones too. This is an old weapon right here, and the fact that it just gets shunned because of its fire rate and the charge time, yeah, no, we need this thing to come back to the light. And that does it for all the ones that I feel like need to be buffed, like pronto. Yeah, I guess maybe you could see some of these weapons probably being buffed, but if they all get buffed, first of all, I'll be surprised, and 2, I'll be happy because at least these guns get a redemption. Now, since we got done with the buff section, we can go on to the nerf section, and yeah, these might make sense and make people mad, but you know what? I think it's time for these to finally get their deserved hit with the nerf hammer. So, here we go. And here they are, the 6 nerf weapons, and do I really need to say why? Some picks might be out of there, but let's be honest, the Deadly Icicle has had this one coming for at least a month now. Again, like the buff section, I will be explaining why I chose these and provide some things to fix them, I guess. Without any further ado, let us go. So the first up is the Deadly Icicle, and yeah, we don't even need to give a lot of explanation of why this is here. First off, it's a 1 to 2 shot off the rip, which, why? And that weakening, nah, that gotta go. So here's the new Deadly Icicle. The base damage for the Deadly Icicle now is going to be at least 120 to 140 max. Now that might seem like a punch to the gut, but the base damage was 190 for the body only. Not to mention that the headshot damage is no, absolutely not. We are not having that as the headshot damage. Headshot damage has now been reduced to 160, which is actually fair. Yeah, not to mention the damn weakening, which is gonna get removed from the Deadly Icicle because it had no reason to be there at all. Replacing it with slows the target and target freeze. Because it's an icicle, it's ice, it's supposed to slow you down. Pixelgun devs, if you actually are watching these things, then there, I just balanced the whole weapon for you. You're welcome. Now moving on to a weapon that won't break my window, we have the Echo Scanner. Now why would I choose this? The range. That is the only reason why I chose this weapon. It's because of the range. The range goes a long way. Like, a long way. So just reduce the range and a tiny bit of DPS nerf. That's it. Just a little bit. Not a lot. Just a point to where it seems fair. Along with that range. Don't put it all the way down, but like, put it to a point where it's fair game. The Screaming Saw is up next, and yeah, this gotta go. The reason why I say that is because the headshot damage is not the best. So how about we do this? We drop the DPS to 135 for the body and 170 to the head. That's basically it, more or less, and maybe this might seem like an out there thing because it already got nerfed before by 5%, but you know, maybe it could receive another one just in case. Now we have the special, and now you might be like, why is the underwater whip here? I think we all know why, but I think other people are like, there's another special that is worse than this. You know that, right? And do I ever? Yes, I know. It's the cash gun. Surprisingly, I don't own it because apparently I own a lot of guns in this game. Instead of just the underwater whip getting its nerf, I'm also dedicating it to the cash gun as well for that little bit of justice. Because I think we all know that I think it's time to go. But first, we'll do the underwater whip as planned, and I want to just say this. It's not the damage that's the problem, somewhat. It's the range. The underwater whip's range is extraordinarily long. So, we're gonna reduce the range. However, I'm gonna switch the polygon to show you where we're gonna reduce it to. Alright, now that we're in the polygon, I can actually show you where I'm gonna be placing the new range, and it's about there. Right where near that dummy is, down there, that's where the arrow is, right there. That's the new one. Which we can roughly shave off at least 35 to 40 of its original range, and a small DPS nerf. That's it. And now we have the special one for the cash gun, and yeah, that DPS nerf gonna be coming for it. And you see that 25 piece of ammo there? Now it's 8. And that's the new cash gun. I don't think mobility was a problem in the first place, so I think we're good on everything else. And now we have the mutagen sniper rifle, and this one was a reluctant pick because there really isn't any sniper rifles that I would necessarily nerf or buff. But, well, you know, besides the bone rifle, either way, this one, I will say because of its mines. It technically does do the reduced amount of damage with the mines itself. However, the poison is still strong. So basically, we're going to reduce the time of the poison for only the mines. For example, if you hit someone with the projectile and you don't hit it at the ground and use it as a mine, then the full duration of the poison will be in effect. However, if you do aim at the ground with the mines, then they will be half time if someone steps on them. I know the explanation was terrible, so I'm just gonna hit you with a TLDR. Basically, if you shoot someone with the gun and it isn't a mine, then it will be the full duration of the poison. However, if you shoot at the door like a mine, then it will only do half duration of the poison. There, does that make more sense? I hope so. And finally, the heavy. Do I even gotta explain why this has gotta be nerfed? I'm gonna give it the same treatment as the TV and reduce the damage by only 5 to 6%. So the thing doesn't become completely useless. And that's the ones that should be nerfed. Slightly with the Mutagen Slayer and possibly with the Echo Scanner, but you never know. I just know that the other ones, I know that they should be nerfed because, yeah, they turn this game to not be fair at all. And now that we got both categories of what should be buffed and nerfed, I'm gonna go over which ones that I personally would like to be buffed or nerfed. Now, this is my own opinion, so I don't want it to seem like I want these to be buffed or nerfed. These are just what I would like to see buffed or nerfed in my own opinion. So without any further ado, let's go. And here we are at the final stretch with these 6 weapons that I personally want to be buffed. Maybe you guys can agree, maybe you somewhat disagree, but hey, these I personally either like or because I feel like they need it. And the first one is the Harbinger of Ragnarok. Now, this used to be actually really good, and then they made it entirely worse. So why don't we just revert it, but maybe have it a tiny bit balanced? So again, it's usable and it doesn't feel useless. Next is the Lives Harvester, and honestly, there's a lot of things that need to be changed with this thing. First off, its accuracy is garbage, meaning that literally even if you're aiming at the guy, it will miss. And it doesn't just feel good to use, so fix the accuracy for one, and maybe get a bit of a DPS buff. You know, give it a reasons for why it's actually a veteran's weapon. Next up is the Pick Hammer, and this is like my child. So I don't want it to be overpowered for one. I just want it to be good. So basically, if we go to the Draught scale right here, let's go and aim it for at least the 7 or 8 mark. And again, DPS buff, because the piggy needs justice. Next up is the Crystal Touch, and it kind of needs some work. Out of all the Crystal Division weapons, it's probably the weakest, so let's put it on par with those. Again, with the DPS buff, and maybe making the slow the target maybe stronger. Technically, it's like a blizzard, if you think about it. It's blasting you with snow, technically crystal, but you get what I mean. Next up is the Card Sharper, and we are actually not giving this a DPS buff. Instead, it's standard for all these 3 that have a fixed delay when you deploy it, which isn't really needed, so we're getting rid of that. Instead, we're gonna switch it to when it receives the delay that it will make this animation. And finally, we have the Tomianum, which, yes, I had to look up how to say that. If the Field Plasma Station can get a buff, then this can too. First, a DPS buff, and we're making it have 2 bullets. And maybe make the plasma damage, I guess, stronger as well. And now we're on the nerfs. And yeah, you might be like, why'd you choose these ones? Again, I'll explain. Rune Buster is kind of busted. It's a guaranteed 2-shot, and also it disables the jumps, which Damn. All I'm gonna give it is a DPS nerf. That's it. That's all I'm gonna give it because I feel like it's good on its own, but I just feel like it needs a little bit of a pushback. Next up is the Total Dominator 2, and it's just not the damage I'm gonna nerf. The damage while we're reloading as well. Just like what it was with the sniper, it does the same damage with the reloading as the backup. Next up is the melee, and do I honestly need to give a reason for this? And I'm about to give you the hardest truth about this thing. It's the rage switch weapon. What I mean by that is if someone doesn't get their way, they're gonna switch to this and hunt you down. Or just hunt everyone else down because they didn't have fun. So I'll be nerfing the DPS while also nerfing the lifesteal and the damage to the cursed. Don't get me wrong, it will still be good, just a bit of a huge punch to the gut. Next up is the Thor's Hammer, and I know this just got buffed, but it's already gone too far. Maybe just a little bit of a DPS nerf to not where it's useless again, like I've said before, but you know, just there. And finally, the Heavy. Again, I know it's new, but Jesus. I know that a rare few people own it, but I will just say this, it's good, and there's no way of escaping it either. It's literally just like the Supernova. So we're gonna give it a DPS nerf along with a gravitational force nerf. Not the gravitational itself, but the damage right after it. And the first time they're probably ever gonna do this, if they do, a weakening nerf. If they do this, then I'll be surprised, because they would probably never, but if they do, thank you. And that's the end of the video. Except no, it's not the end yet. See, there's one OG weapon out there that everyone wants to be buffed, including me somewhat, that basically gets shunned over to this day. And that weapon is the Prototype S. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's the Prototype. Prototype is one amongst all of the OGs in the entire pistol gun thing. It's up there with the big fatality gun. So to see this weapon overlooked, even though it's been here from the very beginning of the game start, it hurts. And honestly, it's not good. So what are we gonna do? Bring it back to its glory. Giving it the DPS buff that it respectfully deserves. And to be funny, we can have it round to a point where it's 1% higher than the Prototype S. That would be funny. First of all, that would be a punch to people who use it. And two, it would be hilarious. Whatever grade it is, even if the Prototype is at Epic, it's still higher than the Prototype S at Legendary. And now it's actually the end of this video, and I hope you guys really enjoyed and also enjoyed the twist of the Prototype being the last weapon that I do. Because it needs some justice. It's been here since the very beginning, and it needs its callback, you know what I mean? By the way, Pixgun, please extend this and have like one more chest in it. I'm so close to getting that. I was super close. You see that? I got robbed, man. I got robbed. But either way, that's the end of this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, join the Discord, follow my Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time.